we're going to go and get started because I got some slides to get through today. So again, Kim Knight, Small Business Administration. Glad to be here today with you. I'm what's called a Business Opportunity Specialist. In my role, I support 8A certified firms, and that's one of the certifications of 3 or 4 or 5 that we offer. That's my role. I support my portfolio is about 30 to 40 firms right now. That's just my portfolio. We have at one point we had over 200. I think it's kind of shifted a little bit, but we have many firms, Georgia-based firms in our portfolio who do a variety of services, provide a variety of goods and services to the federal government. So we're going to talk about how to market and the best ways to get in front of those agencies that you desire to work for or to extend those relationships. And if you hear anything I say that is not correct me, shift me, because things have moved and changed in the last few years, as you can imagine. But I'm here to do the best I can to give you some tips on how to market and sell to the federal government. All right, our objectives are to talk about government contract and suitability. I mean, are you suitable for a government contract? It sounds kind of harsh, but it's a legitimate question because for everyone, the government is not the most ideal customer. How the government buys goods and services, we need to know that. We need to know how they procure. Marketing your business and identifying federal opportunities is something we're going to talk about. Prime and subcontracting. A lot of folks want to jump to the big leagues and try to be a prime on a contract, and sometimes that's not feasible. So how do you get in where you fit in? Sometimes it's becoming a sub. How the government can help. All right, let's talk about size standards. Are you a small business? It largely depends on NAICS code. Manufacturing, you can be 1,000 employee business and still be considered small in the federal government. So it's important to know what the size standards are, and that's determined by what we call NAICS codes. And we'll talk about what NAICS stands for in a minute. Size restrictions are based on your average number of employees or your annual receipts. It could be either or depending on what your NAICS code is. Your business type, we work with sole proprietorships, we work with partnerships and corporations, or any other legal form can be considered small. Nonprofits, unfortunately, are not considered. So if you're nonprofit, you can stay in here, but a lot of this isn't going to be relative to you because we don't, in terms of government contracting, that's not a factor. You have to operate primarily within the United States, and non-qualified businesses are primary operations that are outside of the U.S. All right? Do you know the NAICS code and size standard for your industry? Who knows your NAICS code? Just raise your hand if you know your NAICS code. Good. If you don't, we can find that out. NAICS stands for North American Industry Classification System. It's a code that defines establishments and are used for administrative, contracting, and tax purposes. So a lot of times if you look at your tax return, if you're a business, you'll see that code on there because it drives a lot of information about how you're positioned for tax purposes. Size standards using NAICS as their basis apply to all federal government contracting, government programs, including procurement. Size standard drives everything in terms of just determining if you're eligible. It's one of the basic things that they use. You can visit the U.S. Census Bureau NAICS website to identify your NAICS code, and once you do that, you're on your way. So you also need to, suitability depends on your plan. Do you have a business plan? Who has a business plan? Does everybody have? Okay, every hand should be raised, or it should be in progress. And what does a business plan entail? This is a standard format. There are a lot of questions or a lot of thoughts about, can we do a smaller or scaled down business plan, or do I do a business model canvas? It depends on the customer, but I would submit that for government, you need a well thought out plan for so many reasons, but one of them is because you need to really understand and go through all of these steps to understand who you are as a business, where you want to go as a business, etc. So you need your company information needs to be there, and executive summary. You need to talk about your business structure, whether you're an LLC or whatever your structure is. Market analysis, y'all, this is so important. You need to understand your industry. You need to have analyzed, if you're going to be a hula hoop salesperson, let's just use that. I don't know why that came up in my head. I guess it's I'm a country girl, I used to hula hoop a lot. So you need to know who, if you're selling hula hoops to the government, right? You need to know who is, because trust me, if they're buying something, if there's something that exists, they're likely already buying it, right? So you need to know from whom they're buying it, which business is already selling it to them, and the question you need to ask is, how do I either unseat the incumbent? You know that incumbent, you know how it's hard to unseat when you're doing in politics. It's hard to unseat that incumbent unless they're doing a crappy job. But it's easy if easier if you know why they're purchasing from them and what your competitive advantage is. And that's what you need to talk about in your market analysis, right? And you just need to know where the trends are in your business. That's why you want to do your market analysis as well, because analysis will tell you if that industry is growing or expanding or contracting. And you want to, if you're starting a business, and for those of you who haven't launched yet, this is a great time to be in a class like this, because you'll learn things or to be taking advantage of learning opportunities like this, because you'll learn how to do the research that will help you to know, okay, is this a good and viable business idea? Or do I need to pivot to something else, because I can look at the ratios and the numbers and see if business is contracting, or you can look to see if the government is my ideal customer. For those who are already in business, you can still do that type of analysis and should on a regular basis. You should be a student of your industry. And how do you become a student of your industry? Attending events like this, attending trade shows, not just to the customer base, where the customers are, but where the thought leaders in the industry are. So that is another thing that you can make sure that you're doing is that analysis. Marketing and sales, you should talk about your marketing strategy and your sales strategy to your customer base. And it should also include this, we're talking about your business plan format here. It should talk about, of course, your service and product line. You know, what service are you providing and what product line are you, what are you selling? And then finally, your financial projections.
And this is just to run a better business, or is this required to apply to bid on jobs or to get the SBA 8A, or what is it?
It's just, you just want to have a business plan. It's just to run a business. And in my, as far as 8A is concerned, you have to have a business plan for that certification. But this is just, you want to have that so that you can go through these steps so that you can understand the trends and where your business is going. You don't have to do it, but if you plan to, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah.
That's just how I see that. So that's the business plan format that is most commonly used. Are you prepared to finance the contract? Highly important. It takes money to make money. You've heard that. It is so true with government contracting. You have to have the funding to begin this endeavor. You have to have capital. And these are the five things that we that make for a successful contractor. Character. Do you have good credit? You know, are you an ethical business owner? That matters. That matters. You can do business the any way you want to, really, but if you're not an ethical business owner, we've seen it come back to bite folks in the end. But character really talks about in a lot of ways your credit score and your ability to do business in a way that is respectful and admirable. That's kind of what character, and you'll see character a lot when you talk about the 5 C's of credit. This kind of mirrors a lot the 5 C's of credit. Cash flow. Do you have money? Is your business flowing? Are you cash flowing the business? Is the business cash flowing? Are you making money? Do you have adequate funds to take on more weight? Because when you talk about government contracting, you're taking on weight in the business. And if you're barely surviving now, a lot of people think, oh, if I can just get a government contract, it's gonna save my business. It's not. It's gonna tank it if you don't have. It can. Miracles happen every day. Good things happen to good people. You know, and some people are just downright lucky where a government contract doesn't crush them, but it can, if you're not well resourced, it can really harm your business. So that's why you got to do that previous step of the planning, and that includes resource planning, capital planning, to understand what can you take on as a business, because you may take 120 days to get paid from a government contract, and if you can't float that, then your business is going to be underwater, your people aren't going to get paid. There's a lot that goes into that. Do you have collateral to get a loan? You gotta have skin in the game. We have loan programs, and they're not loan programs directly to you. They are loan programs to the lender to help them support giving you a loan. So let me say that one more time. SBA does not loan money unless it's in the instance of a disaster, right? If it's just idle and PPP, that's the only time you'll see us doing a loan when it's a disaster situation directly. But we support the infrastructure of the bank to offer loans. So 7(a), 504s, those aren't loans that we directly administer. You have to go through your lender to get that. So you want to make sure as you're building, as you're scaling, that you have a lending relationship. How many of you have a lender that you can call at the ready that knows you by your first name? That's not enough people. If you're in business, you gotta change that. You gotta have a lending relationship because things can change in your situation at any time, and you need a lender who understands your business model and can guide you. Or what happens when you don't have that, you go out and grab easy capital, factoring, that sort of thing. And that is that's a bad, that is a way to continue going, but the cost of that capital is usually very expensive. So you want to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place, that you don't have to grab capital that's not good for your business, which leads me to capitalization plans. You know, do you have liquid holdings? Do you have what you need, the earnings that you need, and the liquid holdings that things you can liquidate to make sure you can cash flow whatever your objectives are for your business, right? And this is very important as well, conditions. You gotta look at what's happening. That's why you gotta be a student of your industry. You gotta know what's going on in your industry so that you gotta know whether the conditions are favorable for you to expand in this new territory, or for you to take on this new, or for you to buy this business. You know, sometimes people are selling the business because they are struggling. And if you don't do your due diligence to understand, to know the numbers on that business that you're buying, and to understand the conditions of that industry, you could buy a ship that's sinking. You could invest in something that's not going to give you a good return. So you got to be a student, and you got to know what the conditions are of not just that industry, but the surrounding and peripheral situations that might impact that. You know, we've got, say, if you're in transportation right now, what's happening to businesses that are in transportation? Fuel costs are exorbitant. So if you're in that situation, you may need access to capital to help you. And if you're not on the positive side of that, that may be good to not be hard to get good capital. So you got to take care of your business while it's doing well, and have reserves for when it's doing well, and don't spend all don't be upside down. So you can go get capital if you need it, working capital or whatever, to keep you afloat in these perilous times. So you got to look at the conditions of what is happening, and you even as a therapist or whatever else you might be doing, when times get tight, disposable income, people shrink from spending money on things that they would normally, that's a frivolous. I wouldn't even call therapy frivolous because it's not for me. You know what I'm saying? Like things that you don't have to do, you don't do during perilous times. So you have to, I don't care what industry it is, you gotta really be thinking all that. Yeah, like Starbucks. Trust me, they're probably seeing some contractions because people are putting that $5-6 toward gas. You know, because it's $3-5 a gallon depending on what you're driving. Let me keep going because I get excited. Is your business procurement ready? Number one question. Does the government buy what you sell? Easy question to answer. If you know where to go and look, and a lot of people want to go get these certifications, they'll do all this stuff, and then they hear crickets when it comes to, you know, the contracting officers aren't busting down the door. Well, they don't buy that. Or if they do, they probably do, but you got to understand if they even do buy what you sell, how? How is the procurement happening? How are they purchasing that? Do you have federal contracting experience? When you come to the big leagues, federal contracting is the big league. Can you sign in for us, sir? Yes. Federal contracting is the big leagues. You got local, you got city, county, you got state, but federal contracting is the big boys. And so, do you have contracting experience? Federal is preferred when you're going to play in the federal space, especially expand. But I want to see you have some local. Do you have local? Have you gone in your back door to see what your local school system, your county is purchasing and procuring? A lot of people want to bypass what's in their back door and don't have relationships on the federal level, on the city and county level, but want to burst up in the door of the federal and go, okay, I'm here. But you haven't even, you probably bypassed 30 to 50 opportunities right in your area, right? So make sure you have contracting experience of any kind, but for sure, federal is if you're gonna play in federal, federal experience is good to have. Cash, do you have cash? Do you have money? Do you have inventory? Do you have working capital? We just talked about that. Are you capable of fulfilling a government contract? We've seen some horror stories of people who've gotten these federal contracts and they were not able to fulfill them. That's bad. And they'll never get another one. It's bad. It's the kiss of death. Do you know where to find the contracting opportunities? Do you know where to look? Okay, how the government buys goods and services. Am I going too fast? Everybody okay? All right. We are the world's largest buyer. $700 billion per year. 23% of federal contract dollars are intended for small businesses. That's a nice piece of that pie. How do we buy? Competition types to win government contracts are full and open. We got small business set-asides and we got sole source. Okay, full and open is a level playing field with full visibility. Anybody can, if you think you're big and bad enough, jump in there with the big boys, let's go. Any responsible business, meaning you've got your stuff together. You are legit and able to legally compete. Set-asides, rule of two. So what this means is if you've got two firms that can perform this contract, then they are able to set aside that contract for that particular procurement opportunity. Subcontracting limitations though. You cannot just subcontract the whole contract. You go out and get this set aside for your designation, but you outsource 100% of that. No ma'am, no sir. You can do it, but you're gonna get caught, and it's gonna be a problem. So there's limitations on subcontracting when you do these, when you get these contracts for these set asides. Because that is set aside for you and your designation. There's a lot of latitude in there, but you can't just 100% outsource that contract. You're not supposed to. Sole source. One firm can provide. I do a lot of these as an 8A, as a person who supports 8A firms. I do a lot of sole source. That's the beauty of the 8A program and the Rosary program and some of these other programs that there are set asides that can be sole sourced to a firm. I think the amount right now is, I know this is wrong, I think it's maybe, it was 4.5 million. If it's under 4.5 million, if the contract is under 4.5 million, and I think it's been increased, that can be sole sourced to the 8A firm or an 8A firm for sure, without having to go through, we can authorize that. I think now it's being rolled up to headquarters. They want to view all of those contracts, but historically, $4.5 million. If you can perform that contract, and if you're an 8A firm, that opportunity is coming to you. If the contracting officer says you can do it, and you built that relationship, and you perform, shown that past performance, that's the one thing that is available through some of those sole source opportunities. Compelling urgency. That's another way that the sole source can happen. If there is something on, like literally on fire, or just something happening and the government needs something that you provide, they can do a sole source for that. There are regulations stipulating all of that. So I encourage you to get familiar with FAR, which is the rules and regulations that govern government contracting, and laws in general. But that's the code for regulations that you need to become very familiar with. International agreements, there are sole sources under those opportunities, under those instances. National security or public interest, they can sole source under that. Authorized or required by law. There are entities that in certain states, in certain cases, that we have to use those for certain procurements. That's what I think that means where it's authorized or required by law to do that sole source. And I can't remember what two of those agencies are, but there are a couple of agencies where procurement has to flow through them first. You got something, you got something, Steve? Or you just?
I was just going to say that even on the full and opens, many of the full and open competitions have a requirement for the prime contractor to engage small businesses. So
right.
There'll be a certain amount of that contract by dollars that they have to do. So you may, even if it's a full and open, you may reach out to who you think are the main competitors for that and see if you can enter their team and be one of their small business subcontractors.
And we'll get to that later on in the presentation. We're gonna cover subcontracting. Thank you, Steve. All right, so that covers that.
Real quick, so set aside versus sole source. Set
So-
aside is set aside for certain agencies, but sole source also can go to those?
In my, the thought this through last night, a sole source is is to me what's the word I'm looking for? A type of set aside. It's a type of set aside.
Okay.
So you got the set asides that are like, say, Woolsby, woman owned small business. That's a set aside. But then you can sole source under Woolsby or under 8A or, yes?
I had a question. No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
In regards to these, for clarity,
Yep.
with the woman-owned small business, 8A, Hub Zone, how has, and forgive me if I'm naive but I've seen and read that like certain DEI things been taken back and things of that nature.
All
So-
I know is I am writing acceptance letters for 8A Sole Source Awards. The program is still active. I've not been told to stop doing my job. That's all I know. It's still rocking and rolling, and trust me, when you and first of all, 8A is not a DEI program.
No,
And go ahead.
yeah, I was saying any of.
Well,
have you seen
but I'm
any-
just using that as an example because that's the one I work with.
Okay.
So there's a lot of presumptiveness that 8A is a DEI program. It is not. It is not based on those racial categories. That was removed several years ago. You have to only prove social disadvantage. If you, Steve, say I am socially disadvantaged and we write a narrative explaining how you have been socially disadvantaged and SBA approves that narrative, you can, other things withstand, all of the issues withstanding, you can be same. You can be accepted into the 8A program. Yes.
And I will say I monitor SAMS, which is the site where they put out all the opportunities. Believe me, there are plenty of set-asides still being published.
For 8A.
Don't worry about that.
Yep.
It's all out there.
Yeah.
And SAM is what, SAM.gov?
Yes. That's the System for Award Management. That is where, and I think, did I not get to that yet? Okay. So set asides for certain, you had something, okay. Yes.
I did have a question. So under these set-aside certification programs,
Mhm.
so there are different types. I see the woman-owned 8A hub zones, and then service disabled veteran,
Yes.
small business, which I'm trying to get certifications in. So are all of these a part of the set-asides that you can acquire?
There are set asides
Certifications.
underneath all of these.
Okay.
That you can have access to if you are designated. There's a
These are
certification process for each of these, and there are set asides for each of these. Underneath, once you go into SAM, you can see it, or in the acquisition forecast, you can see often what's set aside. Okay, primary methods of contracting, micro purchases, I think it's, I think it's 15,000 and below. It doesn't require a competitive bid, and they pay for it with the purchasing card. So that's these are opportunities that are really easy if you've got the relationships to just come in and hit a quick $15,000, opportunity, but these are relationship-driven opportunities here. Simplified acquisition process, 15,000 to 350,000. Again, don't have to be bid out. They can just write that if it's something that you can fulfill. That's a nice, if you're a small business and you get a $350,000 opportunity without having to tussle for it and all of that, that's great. Then the other method is sealed bidding, when the government has a need for service supplies that is clear, specific, and complete, no negotiation prior to award. That means they put an opportunity out, you submit a bid, they review that bid, and you can't negotiate. It's whatever you submit, they take the highest or lowest bidder or whatever the stipulations are, and go from there. And then there's contract by negotiation. Technical products valued at $150,000 or more, negotiation allowed prior to award that considers more than price-related factors. So it's not just the lowest price isn't going to get it in these cases. you gotta be technically competent or whatever that, contract is calling for. You gotta be able to understand, to know those qualifications and meet those. It's not just based on price, right? Okay, so there are flexibilities in some of these, so you gotta know, this is why you gotta know the FAR. Because there are flexibilities in your contract sometimes. Say if you get a contract and there's some disaster or something that happens that keeps you from fulfilling that contract, the contract, the FAR clause 5249-14, excusable delays, don't feel like, understand this clause, because you may have some wiggle room if you're not able to meet the demands of that contract. There may be a way that you can, that doesn't land on your CFARs, because you had something that was beyond your control. Now, that you have to understand what those things are. So read that clause to be sure if you're already a contractor, so you're aware. Here's the other one, which provides that the contractor shall be liable for default unless non-performance is caused by an occurrence beyond the reasonable control of the contractor. Kind of saying the same thing, but differently. So you want to communicate with your contracting officer. Make sure that you're keeping them apprised of what is happening with that contract. This is post-contract. This is once you get the contract, so it's kind of jumping ahead. And you want to put the notification of issues in writing to the contracting officer. Once you get the contract and you see things are going awry, say you had a tornado hit your factory, or you're out, like I had a firm that was down in Augusta and they were without power for a long time. So if he had a contract that he was fulfilling and he couldn't get to his systems to maybe put pertinent information in or to get to the location because the roads were blocked by trees, then that's something that he needs to communicate with the contracting officer to make sure that they know what's going on. So these are the different types of contracts: an indefinite delivery, time, materials, and labor, incentive-based, fixed price, and cost reimbursement. The descriptions for each of these, indefinite delivery, you got a definite quantity and requirement contracts, you got IDIQs, that's what we call those, indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. You can get one of those and they'll just call you when they need whatever it is they need, but it's a contract vehicle that's used quite often actually. Time, materials, and labor, acquiring is based on direct labor hours at a fixed hourly rate. And you gotta be careful when based on what type of contract this is, if you can meet that, if you can withstand the cost of what it's going to cost you to do this work. If this is their price, can you afford that? You got to supply the people, you got to supply the materials and all that stuff, often up front, and you got to decide whether that's something that you can do. Then the incentives, supplies, services acquired at a lower cost. They give you an incentive for coming in under the budget or under the price. Fixed price, economic price, not a lot of wiggle room. It's an incentive contract. It's a fixed price. They want that. This is the price that is not moving. Cost reimbursement, payment of allowed incurred costs. And you got to read that contract closely to understand what is allowed. Allowed is a key word there, because some costs may not be allowable. I'm doing okay? All right, here's another, and these are agreements. These aren't contracts. These are just agreement types that you can enter into for reasons, for various reasons. That the government does not always need to have a contract to place a purchase, to place to purchase services, supplies from your small business. The use of agreements allows the government to purchase from businesses for future or potentially repetitive requirements. Agreements are not contracts, and an agency can set a BPA, which is what we call a blanket purchase agreement, to exceed the SAT threshold. They can do, there's a lot of latitude, a lot of times in how the government can operate based on what is happening. So again, being familiar with the FAR, understanding what it says, understanding the rules, and understanding what these different agreements and different options are for your business is important. All right, let's see what else. Research your market. Talked about that earlier. Know what agencies buy your products and services. Find your niche, because competition is fierce. It is so, I get so sad when I see the people that think because they just gotten an 8A or they've gotten, I've not gotten any contracts. Well, they're not falling out of the sky. You're gonna have to market if not more aggressively, once you get an 8A or a WOSB than you did before, because the competition at that level is when you've gotten into one of those certification programs, that means you're elite. So you're not just competing with, you know, everybody that's just kind of down here groveling. You're competing, in my opinion, with an elite group of businesses. Because you have to go through something to get a certification. You know, so that's, and the pool for those opportunities to me is, those opportunities is smaller. And so you have to really be sharp to go after those opportunities when you're, you know, because the it's set aside, but you're not the only one, you know, so you gotta really fight for those, to me, set aside opportunities a little bit. It may be the same, I don't know, but I just feel like those certifications don't just assure you that you're gonna walk into a contract, is really what I'm trying to say. You have to know your competition, and you have to understand the areas of government spending. And you gotta know your competition and their contracts. Okay? Be familiar with the agency you're targeting. Follow them on LinkedIn, follow them to the bathroom. You need to know what it is, know their pain points. When you go to these different trade shows and things that you're going to as a government contractor, don't come at the table saying, oh, what do you have for me, sir? What do you have for me, ma'am? No, you say, I see in the acquisitions forecast that you have this opportunity. I am, you know, I see this total small. My firm and I can compete, you know, we can compete. We can do this work. Okay, we're going to bid on this, or would you consider setting it aside or doing a sole source to our agency, because we can perform this. Know what the options are. Before it hits the street, that's the best place. So following the forecast on acquisitions.gov, that's the best way to get those opportunities to be sole source before they hit the street, right? Because they haven't made a procurement decision. They haven't decided how they're going to offer that, right? So be prepared to deliver a concise elevator pitch. Who has the elevator pitch ready? Who in the room? If you don't have it, work on it. And then work on it some more, because it needs to be concise. Present a business card with your certifications. Business cards are cool, but I just think that a well thought out and well done capability statement is better, because they're going to, that business card, they probably won't be able to find it. And then here's the last thing, have a capability statement with your NAICS code, which we talked about earlier, what a NAICS code was. So understand your customers. I like this slide because these are really the folks that you need to know. The customer isn't always who you think it is. It's policymakers, because they can drive what is prioritized, if you know what I'm saying. If, say, your politicians, those folks, they sometimes drive what is coming to a community, or what the government's going to focus on, or what this entity is going to focus on. So you need to know and be connected to your policymakers, because sometimes you can help shape that decision. If you are, you know, if you're part of the thought leadership in your community or in your chamber or whatever, you can help shape some of that. Because they may think we need to focus on hula hoops, and you're like, no, we need to focus on chalk for hopscotch. You can help drive that conversation, because based on what you're hearing on the street, you're the ones dealing with customers, direct, you know, ultimately. Small business specialists. Do not bypass this person. Small business specialists in organizations, I feel, now I've had varying, you know, thoughts about that from people who are actually out here doing this work, that they feel like sometimes the small business specialist is sometimes not the best contact. But I know a lot of small business specialists, and I think that they are very conscientious about what they do, and they want to be helpful, but you gotta come prepared. You gotta come, like I said, not asking what do they have, but saying, here's a problem I can solve. You know, that's what they like to see and hear, right?
I have a question regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
So the small business specialist that you're referring to, is that at the bank, or is
No,
that?
that's at the agency that you're doing. Everything I'm talking about is at the federal agencies.
Okay.
That the small business specialists are embedded in agencies that are there to help you to understand how to do contracting with that agency better. And you can go on the agency's website, and they'll usually have an area set aside for small business that you just go there, and they may have that person listed. You can also find, I think in the OSDU offices, you can find that the Office of Small Business Utilization, every Every office, every agency has one of those, and you can find that advocate. They are your advocates within an agency. Again, capability statement, what should it contain? Here's the format right here. Purpose, everybody know what a capability statement is? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like a resume for your business, basically. But make sure it includes an introduction, your credentials and qualifications. It is a door opener, and you want it to captivate your customers. It's a marketing tool. It's a business resume. It's a relationship builder. More than your business card, this is the tool that you want to leave behind, and it has to be well done. You want to use it for prime and teaming opportunities. When you're small, as many of you are, priming and teaming, prime relationships and teaming relationships are super important. If you can find a good mentor and a good prime contractor to work under, that will help you to, it'll pave the way for you to learn the contracting space with a layer of protection, in a sense, over you, because you're coming in with them to support them and what they do. They're coming to support you with that mentorship and that their knowledge of the space, and you're bringing your expertise. And if you do it correctly and you have the right person, it can be a win-win. I've seen a lot of good situations. I've seen some not so good, but that's, again, where your homework, it comes in handy, because you got to know who you're getting into business with. You can also use it as part of a source of SALT or request for information response. That means you've found an opportunity on SAM.gov or through your bid speed, bid match, whatever's coming to you, and that's what you're going to include in your packet to respond to this opportunity. That's not all. You're going to put everything in there that they're asking for, but that's a major tool. Elements, here we go, title, firm's logo. If you don't have one, get with a good marketing firm. Who's a marketing firm in here? Who's marketing? What? No marketing firms? That is highly unusual. Because government does use marketing people. I've got a firm down in, I forget where she is, but she does really good marketing work with the DoD. Logos, other branding elements, make it visually interesting. Don't just have a, would you want to look at something just full of text and just no organization? No, so just make sure it's visually appealing in addition to informative. Corporate data, make sure your office and location information are correct. Not just on your capability statement, but on your Google. If I'm looking for your office space, don't have me riding all over Metro Atlanta because you've got the wrong information on your Google My Business. Please update that. If you've moved, update your Google My Business or however it is you're coming up in social media, because I have left to go to a field visit and I rolled up, on my firm, and I'm like, where are you? And she said, oh, we moved across the street. Well, your Google does not say that. Your Google has me going here. So it's, make sure all the data, whatever you change or put together, is accurate across all platforms. Company data, of course, your financial stability, capacity, number of employees, teams, UEI. Everybody know what the UEI is? Unique Entity Identifier. That's like almost like I wouldn't say the social security number because that's but it's the number that is going to be used to track you everywhere you go in the federal arena. And if you're just new starting out, you'll get one of those. And everybody, don't fear. I've got some resources I'm going to leave to show you how to navigate all of these different acronyms I'm throwing out at you. But unique features, what sets you apart? What is the benefit of using you as the preferred vendor, and socioeconomic certifications like 8A, WOSB, etc. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, you finished that. What is the cage?
It's another identifier that is used, and I'm into, because the UEI is the most important.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one. Matter of fact, the cage, I need to make sure that I saw that, and I was like, I need to research whether that's going away or not. But UEI is the number that is the most identified. Yes.
And the UEI, you get that on SAMS.gov.
Yeah, when you
right?
register on
Only from
SAM, you get the UEI,
Okay.
right? So that's the main. We use that for it. When I'm looking up for a firm, I don't care what platform I'm looking at for federal, the UEI is what I use more so even than the company name. And then you want to show your benefits, your past performance, y'all. Whatever it is you're putting together, make sure you got your past performance. If it's allowable, show your past performance on your information. Yes.
you say past performance, is that dealing with, government?
My personal opinion, and you can get an Apex Accelerator but if you don't have, say you don't have a government contract, right? But you want a government contract. I think past performance that is relevant to the opportunity that you're going after matters. It fits. You know, but you gotta be sensible about, okay, am I trying to do a $10 million contract and I've just only done $10,000 work? You might wanna think about, am I aiming too high? So you got the past performance needs to match, to me, the present opportunity. Steve?
Yeah, past performance can be a little tricky. There are limits on past performance, even if you have government past performance. Depending on the opportunity that is out there, it can be anywhere from 3 to 5 year window. So if you have, like I said, past performance that was 10 years ago, that would not be allowed.
Exactly.
Now, if you don't have government past performance, they will, it's many times set commercial past performance or state government, but just know that it is many times not scored as highly as federal government past performance.
Okay?
Good morning. It's also okay to use past performance if you serve to the capacity as a subcontractor, not as in the number one seat as a contractor.
I think that's really the most direct
Okay.
past performance to me. If you, yes, yes, yes. All right. Anything else? Okay. I love this. Well, we limit to 1 page. That's important. They like to see 1 page capability statements. Again, make it visually appealing. Link to your website. Everything should be connected. All your marketing materials should lead from one thing. So if they're looking at this, it should lead them to the website. It should lead them to use bullets, solicit feedback. Apex Accelerators are a good organization to get that type of feedback from. Check for spelling and grammar. I mean, that's a low-hanging fruit thing that you can do that is easy, that a lot of people don't do. Use government language. Federal government has vernacular. You can learn it, understand what terms they use for what. And then you have to upload to DSBS, which is now SBS, and SAM.gov. I need to change that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will also add that if you don't use LinkedIn,
Oh.
use it
Oh.
because everybody in business, including the federal government, they go to your LinkedIn profile for you as an individual to make sure you're for real.
That is that is so true and so accurate. I was probably gonna do that at some point, but yes. As I said, yes.
Going to your website, should you have like either your capability statement on there or or have like a government page? But it's kind of hard, when you don't have the experience, you're trying to get that experience.
And anybody can jump in on this. I always encourage my firms to have 2 sides of the house, commercial and government, so that your customer knows exactly where to go. If you don't have that past performance, for what you're doing in the government space, put your past performance, like Steve said, that's relevant. If it's not too old in the commercial arena, or in state or whatever you've got, put it there as long as it's relevant to the next code that you're advertising that you're capable of doing. And yes, your capability statement should always be on your website, right? Yes.
Commercial companies don't care what your next code is.
They do not.
They don't care what they don't care anything about that. So you need to have a tailored, either spot on your website and a tailored capability statement that's for government. Don't use it for your
Totally agree.
because they don't care.
Exactly. And it just weighs. Yes.
Do you have examples or example websites that we can go?
I'm gonna get to that. I'm getting to it. So, okay, focus on your niche and prioritize your niche. I got firms that say, oh, I do everything. No, you don't. You don't. You do not. And if you do, something's lacking. Or you're probably under-resourced somewhere. And usually what I find for firms that say they do everything, it's gonna show up somewhere that's not a sustainable practice. And it usually shows up in your numbers. When I see that P&L and that balance sheet, I'm like, you doing everything and you doing nothing at the same time. So just make sure that you're narrowing as best you can because you want to be the expert. You want to be the thought leader and the leader in the niche that you choose. Be familiar with the FAR, as I said before, because they govern the government contracting rules. Easy to find, nothing's a mystery. Our website is amazing, that you can find anything you want about contracting on SBA.gov. Make contacts. This event today, it's a way to make contacts. I'm here, I don't know everything, but I'm here and I can likely lead you to a source that can assist you, if I can assist you. Apex accelerators, SBDCs, we got a very good SBDC in Fayette, at Clayton State. Utilize the tools and the resources that are here to assist you. Don't be an island, don't be alone, and don't get frustrated with the process, because when you have resources that are no cost, they often are cumbersome to navigate because everybody's trying to get to them, and they're, the folks are overloaded. But be patient with the process, and you can have some success. And do your part. Do your part, because the Apex counselor is not going to write your proposal. They're not going to. That's not what they do, and that's not what we do. But making those contacts through small business events like the chamber. Who's a member of the chamber? Any chamber. Ooh, not enough. Y'all gotta be in the rooms where business decision makers are, and driving those conversations and letting people know who you are. If you're in business and you're not part of a chamber or part of something like this, it's the problem. Keys to successful meetings: request a meeting with the SBS, the small business specialist. That's important, so they can know who you are. Do your homework. Give specific reasons for the meeting. Don't just say, I want a meeting. Give specific reasons. I coached my firms to say, when you're going to these trade shows and these government shows, already know what the opportunities are. So when you get in front of that SBS or that contract, whoever you're going to meet with, you say, I saw this opportunity, and I saw that it's not set aside, or that it's this or this that. I feel like we can handle this work because. And that is like they're startled. Like I had one contracting officer say, I like people who will come to me solving a problem. Mm-hmm. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what the problem is. So if you're solving a problem, that means you've done your homework and you know the pain points of that organization. Selling to the government is not different from selling to anybody else. It's the same rules. It's just a bigger, your opportunities are usually bigger and less, more cumbersome sometimes to navigate. Conduct pre-meeting research. Boom, there it is. Post-meeting. If you've made promises at a meeting, keep them. Write a thank you note. A little thank you note goes a long way, because most people don't do that. Ask them to share information. Ask for their information. And ask them, what's the best way to contact you? And follow that. If they say, call me, send me a carrier pigeon at 12 o'clock on whatever, that's what you do. Don't call their house. Don't call their auntie. Don't do that. Call the way that they say to reach out to them. That is what you do. People try to get creative. Don't do that. Don't do that. If that's not what they said, don't do that. I'm telling you, because I've heard some things, and I'm like, they did what? So write a government plan. These are important dates. Quarter 1, this is our fiscal year, October 1st to September 30th. That's our fiscal year. I don't care what your fiscal year is, your mama's fiscal year is. This is our fiscal year. October 1st to September 30th. Quarter 1, we want to be raising awareness, building relationships. Quarter 2, lead generation campaigns and response. It means you're diving into that acquisitions.gov, you're looking at SAMS.gov, you got your bid speed coming to you, your bid match, or whatever it is you're using. And you're going through those and you're culling out, all of those opportunities, and you're making those campaigns to pursue those opportunities. And then in fourth quarter, okay, government has money they got to get rid of, they got to spend it. So then that's when those last minute offers, we get inundated in the fourth quarter, we're like, oh my goodness. So that's when those offers come in, because the government has money that they're trying to unload before the next fiscal year, because it's like use it or lose it. So pay attention to those time frames. What happened? Okay. I don't know what's. Oh. Okay. Speak the government's language. We talked about that. Government has vernacular. Take your time to learn it. A lot of it can be seen in the opportunities that are posted. You see a word you don't understand, look it up. If you see, ask, like I said, ask questions and then rework your message based on the information you get. Apex accelerators, SBDCs, and folks like that are places that you need to live right now while you're learning this space, because they do great workshops and classes. List your contract vehicles, like whatever it is that you're on, GSA, whatever the schedule is, that you got that, make sure you're listing those. Stress your contracting expertise. You want to make sure that your contract expertise is clear, and then proof your message to your contracting officer. Prime and subcontracting. Here we are. Prime and subcontracting relationship. A prime contractor is a person or business who has entered into a prime contract, which is primary. They have the contract with the government, with the U.S. A subcontractor is a person that is awarded a subcontract to provide supplies or services necessary in the performance of another's prime's contract. Everybody clear? Everybody got it? Okay. Prime and subcontractors need to work as a cohesive, high-performance team. You should not be going around the back of your prime contractor saying, hey, Mr. Contracting Officer, I know, but I can do this and I can cut. No. First of all, it makes you look unethical. Can't be trusted. You don't want that. Once you get I'll do that later. Planning and communication leads to a more successful contract. Work together, plan it out, how you're going to approach, who's on first. I'm doing this, you're doing that. Work together as a cohesive team. Know each other's strengths. Use what's ideal often is you choose a partner with opposing strengths. That you've got something that you do well and they've got something they do well, and you put it together and make a high-performing team. All right? Consider subcontracting, which I highly recommend subcontracting first. Highly. To build capacity. You build capacity as a subcontractor in a more, like I said, less visible, less exposed way, if that makes sense. You're kind of under that prime, and you're learning from that prime, especially when you're just starting out. Work with the prime on joint ventures. Really good way to, again, build your contracting acumen, but bringing something to the table in a formalized agreement. These are formalized programs, joint venture and mentor project programs. A lot of agencies have their own mentor protege and joint venture programs that you can become part of to gain that acumen. So you have to go to each one of those websites and learn about their mentor protege and JV programs. Now SBA has a mentor protege program. You have to come to the program with your own mentor. You have to find them and bring it in. And my recommendation to you is your mentor should not be somebody who doesn't have any more juice than you, if that makes sense. They should have something that they're going to be able to teach you or guide you. That's why you're choosing them as a mentor. So if you both are in the first grade, then how does that work? So you want somebody who's in the 12th grade, or at least in the 6th, that's going to be able to teach you some things as a mentor, right? So make sure and also as a JV partner, like, you want somebody that's going to be able to, that you're not going to be dragging them along. You want somebody that's a strong partnership, right? But that's a really good way to get, to build your capacity, expand your capacity because 1 + 1 is 2 all day. So if you are 1 and you're kind of not moving along, you grab somebody else and you bring their capacity and your capacity, and you've got a whole company, and not to mention whoever they may have in their relationship. So consider that strongly. You can also enhance past performance. You gain experience and expand opportunities, because what happens when you get into a formal JV or formal MP, even if it's informal, you gain their experience. You get to count that on your capabilities, on your formal JV's capability statement. You get to count that on as a mentor protege relationship, pursuing opportunities. You count that mentors, or even if you're the mentor, that's all the past performance of that company, because you're both in there as an entity, right? All right? How we can help? SAM.gov, obtain that UEI, Unique Entity Identifier. It all starts with SAM.gov. If you're not on SAM.gov, you're not a government contractor. We don't go outside. We don't go to the left, we don't go to the right. This is where it starts. Government-wide point of entry for government contract. Boom, there it is. Then you register in the system for award management, which is the same thing as SAM.gov. Then you obtain a page code. I gotta do some more research on that, y'all. Sorry, I meant to do that and I didn't do it.
Can you go back that slide one more time?
Hey. And I think these slides are, these links are live, and I think I can give you a copy of the presentation, but I'll check. Everybody ready? Okay. Disaster response contracts, y'all. We had a tornado or something down here not too long ago, right, in this area? If you were on this registry and there was an opportunity, you might have gotten a call, or you might have gotten an opportunity to bid on, did anybody in the room have the opportunity to work on
I
disaster?
was a joint
There you go.
for food
Hey.
services.
Yeah, okay, so we got some expertise in the room on that. So this is the, contracting officers are required to search the registry for contractors that can provide disaster or emergency relief services. Something is always going on in any part of the country. So you can become part of this. Make sure as a business owner, once you're established, don't just jump on here just because you see it. Make sure you can provide, something, a service, right? So this is the registry that you can enter to make sure that you get a call if something is happening, or that you can submit for opportunities if something happens in your area, or even if you want to travel to a disaster prone or disaster state, like the fires in California are going on now, and
Florida.
what else is, more fire. It's always something. So make sure that this is an industry, and we have a really big disaster office right here in Atlanta, that whenever something happens here, they deploy teams all over the state to help to mitigate those challenges. But this is the regulation that governs the disaster response registry. You want to get familiar with that? And this is how you sign up for that. This is what it looks like. And I apologize for not having these slides for every thing I'm going to talk about, because I think that's important to give you a visual. These are the opportunities. You got to maintain your SAM profile. If your SAM profile needs to be updated annually. If you don't touch it in a year's time, it's going to go dormant. It's not going to work, and you're not going to get any opportunities. It's going to decrease. You can't just set it up and then 2 years later, no ma'am, no sir, you don't exist. So make sure you've opted in. If you're not sure, follow these steps here. Review the assertions portion of your SAM profile. If disaster response registry is not activated, edit your profile and opt in. And then you have to go through the registration to access this capability. Follow the steps until you're told to submit your registration. That's a really good way to maybe get your foot in the door on some government contracting. All right. GSA schedule contractor. I wish I had somebody from GSA here. I think that, because a lot of our contracts are being pushed toward the GSA schedule. So it requires pre-qualification. It gets your company on the schedule, benefits the customer, which is the government, because it streamlines a lot of the processes. It gives them a pool of businesses to choose from rather than having to go, it's getting on that schedule is important. But you have to, once you get on that schedule, you have to understand that you have to be active on that schedule. If you don't get a contract after a certain amount of time, I think they process you off the schedule. So you gotta make sure that when you get on there, you're ready. And it allows you to market your schedule to contracting officers. You can say, hey, I'm on a GSA schedule. Accesses preferred vendor list. That's what the GSA schedule allows the customer to do. Procurement assistance. My favorite part. Y'all guys, anything? Oh, I'm just making sure y'all have any questions. Okay. Business, our office, that's me. District Office Business Opportunity Specialist, that's me. Georgia District Office Business Opportunity Specialist. District Office Local Assistance, that's how you find us, or you can just get my card. I basically do work with 8A firms, but we can help you, guide you to the right.
I'm sorry. I would love to know, what have you seen kind of like some out-of-box businesses? When you just mentioned marketing, that wasn't something I was thought of. That would be, what are some kind of like out-of-box niches that you've seen that most people wouldn't think about for government?
Let me think about that. I'll come back.
Okay.
So these are the resources. Procurement center reps. We have procurement center reps that, the subcontracting I'm talking about, like Steve mentioned earlier, there are prime contractors that have subcontracting agreements. As part of their contract, they have to do business with small businesses. You can find that on our website, or you can just simply Google subcontracting agreements SBA, and it will pop up, and you will see a list of all the companies that have a subcontracting agreement that must. And if you want to get in contact with one of them, you can reach out to them directly, or you can have the PCR help you to get, to make contact with those firms.
What was that, Google, what, subcontracting what?
Agreements, yeah, because that's, and then you will find a list of all the firms, and I would do that now, but I'm scared I'll jump off the presentation. And I'm gonna be here a little bit after to kind of walk you through some of the websites if y'all want. I do have to be educated about one, but I can do that. Apex Accelerators. Oh, let me give a shout out to our learning platform. SBA has an outstanding learning platform. It's self-guided, but you can really learn a lot about contracting, about the loan environment, about the different certifications we offer. All of that you can learn on SBA.gov. It's all there. Nothing's a secret. It's the government. We can't hide. We're here for you, right? So it's all there. And it's a lot of it's just kind of self-guided. Apex Accelerators are very underutilized too. They do a great class if you're new to government contracting called Intro to Government Contracting. That is fabulous. If you have not taken that class, I suggest that you take it. Their website is apexaccelerator.org. Apex Accelerator, I don't know if it's an S or not, but gtapexaccelerator.org. It is, GT is for Georgia Tech because that is where the Apex Accelerator is. gtapexaccelerator.org, and if it's an S, excuse me. But that is the training and teaching tool or resource for government, federal government primarily contracting. You can also, once you've gone through some of the classes and got to kind of get a little acumen, you can get a counselor there that can help guide you through looking at the opportunities and help you to make sure your responses are sharp to proposals. Who's used an Apex Accelerator before? Anybody? Oh, wow. Yeah, you really want to, especially if you've done contracting and gotten a taste of it, that's a good tool.
I'm sorry, what'd you say that class was? I'm sorry.
Intro to Government Contracting under the Apex Accelerator.
Okay.
Yeah, and they offer that at least once a month. And it's a webinar that you can just jump on and take that. It's about a 2-hour long class, so you'll be able to have that a lot of time reserved. Marketing resources, again, System for Award Management. That's how you're going to market yourself to government customers. This is actually now Small Business Search. But SBS is a really great tool. You want to be there if you can be as a small business, because that's where contracting officers who are doing market research, especially for those like for 8A, for women-owned, for veteran, that's where they're going to show up, is in that SBS. In addition to SAM, they're going to show up there. And a lot of market research for agencies who are looking for those specific categories, they're going to start with DSBS. And if your DSBS is not up to par, if your past performance is old, like Steve is saying, if you don't have a capabilities narrative, if you don't have a capabilities link in there, it's not going to, they're likely going to move on to the next person on the list. Subcontracting network systems, Subnet, that's where you can find some of these subcontracting opportunities as well. Other resources, I love USA Spending. This is some of that research that I'm telling you about where you can find out who has the contract already. USA Spending, great tool to do market research. Put your NAICS code in and you can see what agencies have purchased in that NAICS code. You can search it by fiscal year. You can search it by, like I said, NAICS code, or you can put in a keyword, and you can see not just what the government is spending that NAICS code, but you can also see the agencies that purchased that good or service, and from whom, from who that was. So that tells you what. When you can see the agency, that tells you what.
What the needs are.
Well, yes, it tells you who your customer is.
Correct.
That tells you your customer. And when you see from whom they purchased or which business they purchased, what does that tell you?
Competitor.
There you go. And that's the cornerstone of business is who is your customer, who's your ideal customer, and who's the competitor. That's my personal opinion. Because then you know how to move. and then what they've spent. So you know, that's what I could potentially make. But then you look at the size of that customer and say, can I box? Can I keep up? Or should I partner? You know, that helps define your strategy, right? So DoD contracting directory, prime contracting directory, that's another tool that you can use, again, to see where those prime contractors are. And GSA subcontracting directory, same thing, I'm not as familiar with those. I don't deal with those as much right now. But those are tools that you can do your market research using. All right, this is a FEMA disaster contracting resources. These are, I don't even know, these are tools that you can use to get on their registries and to get alerts for what's going on. COVID is, I guess, kind of going the way of the dodo bird, so we don't have to worry about that one. But as far as the Army Corps of Engineers, you can see a list of current disasters, efforts, and other information on how small businesses can do work with the Corps of Engineers. Advantages of registering with SAM: basic search, advanced searches, opportunity searches, notices, and old, you can do old Fed Biz Ops, I think that's what that is. So you can see all of that in SAM.gov. That's why you want to register. That's how you know what's going on. You can get to work and submit your bid off of SAM. You can find an opportunity, submit your bid, and request a debrief. That's important. When you submit your bid and you win or lose, you want to know why. You want to know why you won, and you want to know why you lost. A lot of times people win like, oh, I just won, I don't really care. No, you want to know why, because you want to do that again and again. Or you want to pivot and do it even better. But you definitely want to know if you lost as well, because you want to know how you can tweak your proposal. Because sometimes it's just a matter of price. All right. Certifications. WOSB, Woman-Owned Small Business. You can take advantage of annual prime contracting goals, because they are contracting goals that are geared toward these groups. I think they've been lowered, you know, in the last year or so. So, you know, but there's still opportunities that are available for woman-owned small businesses. You can build and grow your capacity, and you can access set-asides for WOSB. There are set-asides for woman-owned small businesses, but you have to have this certification to get them, right? Woman-owned small business, that's what WOSB stands for. That's the acronym you use. So if you hear WOSB, you now know that that stands for woman-owned small business, and that is a federal certification. EdWOSB, and well, you see it here, so I can't quiz you. Economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. If your net worth is under $850,000, you are considered economically disadvantaged. So that's another designation.
You say is it business network or
Your
your
personal
assets?
All of it.
Okay.
They look at everything.
Okay.
Okay, and then, but this isn't for all NAICS codes. This is for NAICS codes where women are largely underrepresented, right? So you have to know, check under WOSB Ready to see what those NAICS codes are. 51% ownership requirements. Your husband cannot be 51% of this business, and you call yourself, you cannot be WOSB. You gotta be 51% owner. Highest officer position cannot be your husband or your whoever, male person. It says for you. Seeking federal contracts. You gotta be looking for federal contracts. I will say this. It is primarily a federal certification, but this is how knowing your ideal customer, knowing your customer is important. Some people can have leveraged these federal certifications for other business opportunities. For instance, the state of Georgia is a certification partner with us. So if you have one of our certifications and you want to do business with the state, there's not reciprocity, because we don't take their certification, but they take ours.
Gotcha.
Right? So this certification works if you are going to pursue state, or it could even work for other opportunities as well, but I know it works for the state of Georgia. All right? And you have to have managerial experience. You have to manage the daily operations, and there's no minimum time in business for this one. All right? So that's, and these are some other, like I said, personal net worth. That might have even increased, oh Lord, whichever one is better. 3-year average income has to be $400,000 or less. Fair market value of all assets has to be $6.5 million. That's for the EdWOSB. Those caps don't exist for the woman-owned. There's no caps like that. SBA decides, they make those decisions. I do believe that you can go through GWBC, which is a Greater Women's Business Council, if you get the Greater Women's Business Council certification, you can request to do the WOSB at the same time. I think that they are still a certification partner with us. But you wanna, what's the word, qualify that. You qualify for set aside, or sole source award contracts, increasing prime and subcontracting opportunities to build capacity. That's important in government contracting. You wanna build. You wanna be able to build capacity, and these programs, that's what they're designed to do. You get access sometimes to specialized training and managerial and technical assistance, guaranteed loans, and bonding assistance. Like I said, there are particular needs for that. There's set aside contracts. This is all stuff we've already been over. 8A, which is what I do, kind of in an interesting place right now, but it's still there. Business development support, that's what I do all day. Business development support, I help these firms, we look at their business plans, we help them understand how to market, connect them to resources like the Apex, like SBDCs, because frankly, that's what a lot of the firms need. They don't need contracts, they need to take a step back and go to an SBDC to understand the total health of their business, right? Because if you're not a healthy business, government contracting is gonna either tank you or it's not gonna be good for you. So that's part of the business development help and support that we provide. It builds your capacity to grow. It's a 9-year program. Clock ticks. As soon as you get accepted into the program and you get assigned that BOS, that clock is ticking. That's why we say, I don't like to see businesses come into the 8A without any government contracting experience. I don't like to see it, because you're gonna spend 2 to 3 to 5 years with that clock being eaten up, you trying to figure out what a prime contract is. That's not what we wanna see. We want you to come in with some acumen and ready to roll and ready to fulfill these contracts. That's what I'm saying as a BOS, as who's done this like 2 years. Assistance, management and technical assistance. We have something called Empower to Grow that the firms can have access to, that can teach them about the nuances of doing government contracting. Last year we had a contracting, like an incubator, like a cohort that was really helpful to the firms. That kind of brought them through, but that was something that was only designed for 8A firms. Helps thousands of entrepreneurs understand and succeed in government. That's the purpose of this program, and assist and graduate firms to allow them to thrive competitively. What we hope is that once you get a sole source, a couple of sole sources on your belt and competitive 8As, that you're now able to compete full and open. That's the purpose of this program. We're not wanting folks to linger in this program and be tethered to 8A and can't survive. So there are rules in terms of how, at this point in the program, you need to be 50-50. After year 5, you got to start meeting what we call business activity targets. And year 5 is like maybe 10% has to be non-8A. The next year, 20%. So the next 4 years until year 5, year 9, you're 50-50, which means half is and half not 8A. And if you're smart, you're more than that because you're rolling off, right? Is it appropriate for you? Do you have commercial and government balance? This is what I'm talking about, that business activity target. Do you have more commercial business than you have 8A business? Or do you have more non-8A than you have 8A? You need that commercial balance. Marketing ability, you gotta market. I don't care what certification you have, you gotta market. Proper NAICS codes, potential for success. This is all the stuff we look at every year as we bring firms into this program. And again, like I said, the program's kind of in an interesting place, but right now it's still in play, and this is what we look at. Diminished ability to compete socially and economically disadvantaged. This is what you have to this is the certification criteria. These are the things that you have to, that we look at. Is your ability diminished for any reason? That disadvantaged, socially disadvantaged, and economically disadvantaged. Are you diminished in any way? This is the program for you, because you need that shoring up. It's a one-time only for the program and the person. You cannot come back as a new business because it's still you. Now there are ways that you can kind of, support another business or whatever, but you cannot come back, nor can the business come back once that 9 years is done. Do you have capacity to deliver? People think they do and they don't. For this reason right here, do you have sufficient cash flow? A lot of times, no. Do you have demonstrated capabilities and past performance? A lot of times people don't have that. Are you open to advice on growing your business? So many people aren't open, and they do exactly whatever they want to do, and then they come back and go, oh, I told you that 2 weeks ago. Know the rules of 8A certification. These are some of the rules. Ownership and social and economic disadvantage, control and management. All of these rules you can read here. Go to the FAR and read these rules, or the ECFR, really, because there have been some changes to the FAR as it relates to this program and some other programs. So you want to make sure you're reading the rules. All right? I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Size, standard, ownership, control, and management, what we offer again. We want to see 2 years in business on the 8A because, like I said, it's a very, very cumbersome program. And same rules, $850,000, but I think that's been increased. Average income, $400,000 or less. Fair market value, $6.5 million. That's what we see. It's pretty across the board in terms of your assets for all of these programs. Developmental, like I said, year 1 through 4 is developmental. You can get as much 8A as you want. But I bet you better be watching that other side to make sure that you're not over leveraged, because year 5 is going to hit you with that 10%. You gotta be balanced. That's the reason for the program. We don't want you to be over leveraged. We have an orientation, then we have referrals and training to partners. That's what I do every day. We have an orientation when you come into the program that apparently nobody listens to, because 3 months later they're like, you never told me that. Hey, yes, I did. Marketing, surety bonds, all this information we give them access to, that you too can have access to. It's not just for you, but we do do a little bit of hand holding for our 8As. This is sole source awards are available to you. I think some of those thresholds might have changed, so I'll update this in the positive direction. But that's the 8A program. I'm sorry I'm blazing through this, but I'm trying to get as much of this in. This is a veteran certification program. How many veterans in the house? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, thank you for your service. Veteran here. I was an Army reservist for 8 years, and some of the best times of my life. But I'm jealous of the active duty people though, because y'all really had a good time. Veteran Small Business Certification Program, which is also known as VetCert. Qualified, this is not a program that I manage, so if you got any other questions, I'm going to refer you to Janelle Taylor, who's our veterans rep. Qualified to compete for sole source or set aside opportunities. Like each one of these programs, what do you see? Set aside, sole source. So if you qualify for any of these programs, that's something that you have access to. It's for you to build capacity and scale up, access SBA procurement tools. They have a program called Boots to Business that's really good if you're just starting out. It really is kind of an intro class, and then they can put you in touch with all the resources that I just mentioned earlier as well. Through the VetCert program, small businesses are certified as veteran-owned small businesses, VOSBs, and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Businesses are designated with this classification are eligible to compete for sole source and set-aside federal contracts. VetCert showcases the SBA's commitment to the veteran community and growing the agency's federal contracting base. Okay, you gotta meet the size standard, what we talked about earlier, that next code, whatever your next code is, whatever the revenues are or the employee size is, are you that? Probably so. Have at least 51% of the business owned and controlled by 1 or more veterans. 51% for SDVOSBs, same thing, but you gotta be a service disabled vet. More permanently disabled veterans may qualify if their spouse or appointed caregiver can assist with daily operations. That's important. Reciprocal certification for eligible women-owned WOSBs and small businesses. All right. That looks like if you're a veteran, then you automatically get the certification. As a woman, you get the WOSB and the 8A. That's what it looks like. More information on the VetCert, just stats: 2 million veteran-owned businesses operating in the United States, 5 million workers. That's significant. That's a lot of economic impact. 1.3 trillion in sales. That's what these businesses see. That's generated in the economy. 225,000 firms. Wow, that's significant. So congratulations to the veterans out here doing business. So you see what the potential is. It enables veterans to compete for sole source and set-asides. That's how you get the most out of this certificate. facilitates business development opportunities and bolsters growth, provides access to more prime and subcontracting opportunities. People love to do business with veterans. They really do, because they have the reputation of discipline and of commitment. So it's something that you really want to make sure that you're into, that you take advantage of if you're eligible. Historically underutilized business zones, hub zones, these are to stimulate capital investment in particular areas that are historically underutilized. Build business capacity and growth, access hub zones, set aside contract dollars. Same thing, set asides. Historically underutilized business zones. Employment opportunities are there. There's so many of your employees have to live in that hub zone. Capital investment, that's what it's about, spurring economic activity, and you have economic leverage because you're in a zone that's underutilized. So if you can do a search on the website to see if you're in a zone using your address, to find out if you're there, and then if so, you can begin the process. 51% ownership is required by the business owner that is located in the hub zone. 35% employee requirement, which means 35% of your employees have to live in that hub zone. You have to meet those same SBA size standards for small. No minimum time in business, so if you are in a hub zone and you are ready to go, you can compete for this, or complete the certification. Hold on one second. Next code requirements. You have to have probably particular next code to participate. Yes, sir.
I'm confused. Do the person have to live in that hub zone, or is the business?
The business, from what I understand, is the business that has to be located there. And let me tell you, or let me do this first. Participate in site visits, that's what you have to do to maintain this certification. They're gonna come to your spot. So don't say you're in the hub zone and you're not in the hub zone, because they're coming to see you. You gotta meet the hub zone criteria, which we stated before, maintain SBA standards, and recertify every 3 years. So, but then what you wanna do before you even do all of that is, you gotta look at the opportunities that are existing for the hub zone. Is this something that you even wanna pursue? Because it may not be worth your time. What opportunities are there? So you find that out through USA Spending, looking at SAM.gov and the acquisition.gov pages to see what opportunities are even there. And if that's not something if they're not doing things that fit what you are able to do or that you're interested in doing, then that's not the right certification. And that's for any of these certs, right? You get the same thing, opportunity for set-asides, opportunity to build capacity by establishing joint ventures, participating in mentor protege, access to training, management, and technical assistance. These all offer the same things, but for different reasons. Joint ventures, like I said, love mentor protege JVs, access to business development assistance through your mentor, build capacity and grow. You get to establish joint ventures with your mentor, and there's a difference between a JV with the mentor and one without. Is the program for you? You got to have a pre-identified mentor for SBA's MP. You got to meet, the mentor has to meet requirements, and you have to meet requirements. You can find them all on our website, sba.gov, and you can find, I think it's under government contracting, you can find all these stipulations. There's required training that goes on, and there's next code and joint venture requirements. You can go on the website and find all of that. Management, you gotta have management experience, size, you gotta meet the size standards, financial acumen, financial ability to perform, performance history that is good. That's the eligibility requirement for the JVs, for the joint ventures. Defined roles. When you perform a joint venture, you gotta have well-defined roles. You have to have a management structure. You can't just say, oh, we're in a joint venture. There are things that you have to do to make that joint venture legitimate in the eyes of the SBA, right? These are the things you have to do. And you have to have records and reporting. Empower to Grow is one of those technical assistance programs that I said that the certified firms have access to. Empower to Grow is an online platform largely. They offer executive education, they offer technical assistance and customized training. You can scale and grow your business, and you can gain a competitive advantage with coaching and business development. I believe this program is only for those firms that are in those, in one of those certification programs, but I can qualify, I can make sure of that. You have to be located in an underserved area of high employment or low income population. Business owned by economically disadvantaged individual, yes. Certified as an 8A participant, hub zone, small business, or economically disadvantaged owner, small business. So this is for, this is, Empower to Grow is for those, bullet 3, take advantage of Empower to Grow.
So that won't work for batteries and power girl, because I didn't see that.
Well, looks like not, but they probably have something else special for y'all. Because they really dote on the veterans, so I'm surprised to see that. It might be an oversight, so let me see. These are, so the thing is, you can apply for all, we made a really big change, and this is such a great, change that we've made in government contracting. It used to be where you had to go to a different site for every certification that you wanted to do. Now we have My SBA certifications. You can go to one place and put your information in if you're not already certified, and even if you are, I think the renewal takes place there now. And it's so much easier to navigate. So if you're interested in 8A, and I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a good bit of time in business and you don't have any federal contracts already, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying don't do it. I'm just saying, it's just tough to navigate. But I will say it's one platform. You can put your information in there, and it'll tell you if you need more support before you apply for that. It'll let you know. Don't just say okay. Don't call us saying, well, it told me, yes, you need a mentor. If it told you need a mentor, that means you're not ready. That means don't do it. We know what is going to be successful. Yes.
So if you are in one of the other programs, like the women-owned, the veteran-owned, and you start to get some experiences, then can you transition to an 8A?
Yeah, you can actually become 8A. You can apply anytime you want to.
But I'm saying it'd be better to have.
Well, yes, because that's past performance.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You want. How am I doing, Steve? Am I doing okay on time? Okay, all right. So yes, that is that past performance we're talking about. That's exactly how we want you to approach it. My recommendation is you leverage the certifications that don't have a time clock first and get your sea legs under you, leveraging those programs first because they don't have a time clock. And then when you get your acumen built up, then you come and hit the 8A. If it's, still about the program or whatever the case may be, you get that at that time when you can, you've got some past performance and relationships. Because these Sole Source Awards come largely by relationships. Capacity, ability to perform, but you've built that relationship because you've been working on a Wosby contract, or you've been doing a Total Small, or whatever it is, and they know you. And they go, okay, they can perform this. I'm gonna give them this sole source because I know they can handle it. But that's why I say you don't eat up clock, in a program that you can't perform under unnecessarily. You get in there when you've already got some past performance that you can leverage and relationships that you can leverage. Okay, I think that's kind of eligibility. This is Empower to Grow again, certified. We already talked about that. Why am I going backwards? Oh, I'm going backwards. Okay, this is the My SBA certification process. What's the first thing you see? Register and SAM. Nothing starts without it. And you got to go in and claim your business. All these, take a picture of this because this is how the process works. This is it, and it's not overnight. It takes a while, and the SBA has a reduction in staff. A lot of agencies do, but that's really, oh my goodness. That's really the nuts and bolts of everything, and I'm almost afraid to say this, but do I have any questions? Okay, while we're doing that, any questions? Yes, sir.
I have two questions. One, are these slides, can you make these slides available to us?
I hope so. I think so. We usually do, but I'll check.
And the other one, earlier in your presentation, you were talking about marketing both commercial and government at the same time. And I was hoping that you had an example of a website that kind of shows.
Oh. I should have brought some with me. I don't have it. So the best advice, the best answer I can give you is to, I hate to say this word, but Google it. And just Google capability statement, federal capability statements, and you can find, because I don't really carry, the only ones I have are somebody else's in my, and I don't think I have one with me. Another thing you can do, the Apex Accelerator that I mentioned before, they are the tool where you can learn how to write your capability statement. They'll have examples and samples. And I may have one in my email that they have provided. If I do, I'll send it to you. Let me do some, because I want to make sure you're working with the right tools. And I'll see if I can find one, and I'll send everyone a sample. I'll send it to you.
And my first two companies, I had one that was focused totally on government. Second was focused on commercial. The answer is the way you market to government is totally different than the way you market to commercial. So you should have whole separate marketing program because it's very different. There's things that the government, you need to present like the UEI, your NAICS code, all of your small business classifications, all those things that the government cares extremely about. Your commercial customers don't care at all about it. So you have to really have two separate marketing campaigns. And if you have a website, I would say have a government section and a commercial section.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think who, one of my firms that has something set up like that. I can't think of one right now, but what I'll try and do is based on what I remember. And I will tell you that most of the firms don't, and that's something that I strongly suggest to them. If you need a government customers part of your site and a non-government, like you almost have to have like just two trains running. And again, the Apex Accelerators are a great organization that can help you to structure all of this information. Because when you get to us, well, depends on where you come to us for, but if you get to, when you come to 8A to be in one of these programs, they're expecting you to have all this. So the 8A, the Apex Accelerators are an organization, and I don't know if you offer any of these services here, Steve, do you offer, I don't know what you.
Well, we send folks to the other, but we have a lot of experience here. I do. One of my companies, our focus was helping companies get business with the government. We managed proposals. We did like 50 different proposals. But I will throw something in. So when I was with large companies like Lockheed Martin and companies like that, a lot of our contracts, not all, a lot of our contracts had set aside provisions where you had to have 14% or 15% of the contract by value had to be in small businesses. We had a heck of a time finding small businesses that could actually do the work. So basically, when we found a small business that could actually execute, and oh, by the way, had the right check marks, we used them a lot. So what I've told all my clients and folks I've worked with ever since is that focus on that. If you want to be a subcontractor for some of these contracts, go in and be the small business that can actually execute. It's not good enough just to have the check box.
That's right.
If you execute, word gets around. The primes talk to each other. And if you're somebody who executes, you're going to get opportunities. So that's the trick.
Any other questions?
So Steve, just a quick question for you. Do you still have the company that sort of helps you?
Well, I do this now. But there are other companies out there that do that.
Okay.
That's my question. What exactly is this? This is my first time seeing the Launch Fayette. I was very impressed, and then I saw you have other things. So what is it all that you do here?
Okay, I'll hijack your meeting.
No worries.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll get on camera. So you are sitting in Launch Fayette. We are the first community business incubator on the south side of Atlanta. So what we want to do is help small business grow. We do that through three major elements. Education, you're here today for this class. Mentorship, where we mentor our member companies one-on-one. We have a group of entrepreneurs and residents that do that, and we work with you precisely on your business and how to grow it. This is one element of that. Number three is space. If you're a small business in Fayette County, that's a key thing, because we're supported by the Fayette School System, the Development Authority, and the Techno College. You can be a member and have an office here. And you can use all the facilities here, the meeting rooms, the video production room, all those different things. So that's what essentially we do here at Launch Fayette. We're helping to grow more businesses in Fayette County. And part of that is great folks like Kim, who's a colleague of mine at the Department of Economic Development. I can't say enough good things about her. And I really appreciate her being here today to talk to you about Small Business Administration. Small Business Administration is one of those gems that most small business people don't take enough advantage of. It's there. They want to help you. That's their job. Go use them, but also come and use us as well.
Thank you. And that's important to know that you guys have a jewel like this in your community. And if this is not your community, chances are you have a jewel like this in your community as well. I mean, maybe not as nice as this, but like in your community as well. Reaching out and forming those relationships is so important. Yes, ma'am.
I was looked up the SBA NAICS codes for the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contract, and it was a lot on there that I was surprised about. So if this,
Oh, you did ask a question.
if those codes are on that site, if that means there's a space.
Yes, that's what you have to be in to be part, because the goal is to, again, spark economic activity in that's where women are underrepresented in federal government contracting. They cull those out purposely because they want to see more women show up there. And you ask about NAICS codes that are kind of unusual. The only thing that comes to mind, and it's not unusual, is meals, providing meals to the bases. Providing mess services to the military bases. That's like, oh, that's one of my firms is doing that. Another one of my firms, janitorial is really heavy. It's a big thing. Construction is really heavy. If you're in construction, I see a lot of construction contracts because the bases are always building. Unusual though, I haven't really seen anything that I'm going like,
Painting.
Oh yeah, I have a firm that's a painter. He is. You mean painting like commercial painting?
Like commercial.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I have a friend that's a painter, and I'm so proud that he's got his first 8A contract. But he does heavy work, city, county. But that's again an example of that building capabilities, building past performance. He started out as a city, county kind of contractor working with school systems, and now he applied for 8A, and it's taken him a while because, again, not having that past performance in the relationships. He's got great past performance, but he just didn't have the relationship, and it just takes time in the federal space. But he was able to accomplish that.
Thank you.
But yep.
So I did hear you say you're not very familiar with GSA.
No, not. But go ahead. What's your question?
So I'm in automotive.
Mhm.
So would GSA be a lane, you think?
I can't answer that, but I know who can, and I can connect you with the GSA small business. I think it's GSA that I know, and they are. If it's who I think it is, they are great. But that's again the way you find out your lane is the websites that I said. USA Spending will tell you. GSA will tell you. Follow these folks. Steve gave you some really good advice, and don't just bypass this. LinkedIn. All the OSDEBUs, the Office of Small Business Utilization, they're out there. All the small business offices for these different agencies are out there on LinkedIn, and they're posting their upcoming events where they're going to be talking about what it is they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Then and the person that's posting, guess what? They're probably the small business specialist or someone who's involved in that, closely related to that role. So those are questions that you need to work with that small business specialist and use those tools that I spoke about, like USA Spending, FPDS, which is the Federal Procurement Data System, which has been merged into SAM.gov now. It's its own page within SAM.gov to find out what it is the agency's purchase. Don't, even if I told you, you don't wanna take my word for it, because it could be different between yesterday and today. Oh, and this is the federal government. You have already paid.
Realistic.
Now, what I will say is there are classes and workshops through our resource partners. Like, let me go over some of the resource partners. They're not on this class. Ace Women's Business Center. If you have not connected with a women's business center, I strongly recommend. We have two. Ace Women's Business Center, aceloans.org is the email. aceloans.org. ACELOANS.org. They have workshops, seminars, services. The other one is Greater Wealth Works. Greater Wealth Works. That's in Kennesaw. Wealth. W-E-A-L-T-H. Greater Wealth Works. That's the second. There are two. Those are the two women business centers in Georgia, but they serve men as well. Never fear. They'll see you all as well. The small business development centers are a great resource. There's again one in Fayette County. It serves Clayton, Henry, Spalding, and Fayette.
And what is it, the small business? What?
Development Center, SBDC for short. Their website, georgiasbdc.org. I used to be the director of Clayton State one. Great services. Now I will say that they tend to lean more toward the more established businesses in terms of one-on-one counseling. But they do offer great classes and workshops for businesses who are in the 0 to 2 year or just kind of starting up phase or that don't really have a lot of revenues. They really do a lot of great workshops. And as far as for those who are in that pre-venture or basic business stage is what they call them, SCORE can be a really good resource for you as well. SCORE.org, SCORE.org. That's where you can find a mentor and find an opportunity to market your business and to get the mentoring help that you need to learn how to market your business, learn how to establish your website. A SCORE mentor can just be great. If you get the right one, the SCORE mentor can be fabulous with helping you move the needle forward. Now, they're volunteers, so you may have a SCORE mentor this year, and they may decide they don't want to do it the next year, but stay engaged, find another one, and work with that mentor. These services are all no cost. Now, some of the workshops and classes may cost, but their consulting services are no cost to you. And you only have to pay for, and women's business centers are great because their courses are really nominally priced, if not free. So just make sure that, and then our website, sba.gov/events. Bookmark that, because you can go on there at any given time and find workshops that we're hosting about loans, about government, everything I've told you, we're probably gonna host a webinar about it within a month. All these certification programs we mentioned, one of my colleagues does a great job of breaking down all of that. And so the next time you hear it, it won't feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose. Some of these terms will be familiar. Apex Accelerator, GTApexaccelerator.org. That, for government contracting, to me, in terms of education and training, hands down the best free resource. Now, you can go out here and pay people. You can do whatever you want to do. But as far as no cost, let's figure this out kind of resource. And even once you get a contract or need more support, they're a good tool to use. Just be patient with the process of all of this, because again, we're inundated every day with stuff. And so if you get an attitude because you can't get an appointment, but you cannot wait until the last minute. You can't wait until your proposal is due to sit down and want to talk to your Apex counselor or even to your BOS, because I may have 20 things in front of you that day, or the Apex may have 20 appointments that week. So you have to be proactive, and you have to, what we say, stay ready so you don't have to
get ready.
Thank you. So that's the best way to navigate this environment. Yes, sir.
Do you have a good resource for grant writing?
Well, that is not our space, so no. But I will say, in my previous worlds, grants, what is it? Grants. Oh, it just left my head. Oh my goodness.
Can I say SCORE? Because I've done a grant writing class with them.
Okay.
They have one coming up.
Okay, good.
So I've done SCORE, and it might be like 10 or 15 hours. I
Yeah, because we do not deal with nonprofits, those resources don't readily come to mind, so thank you for pitching in on
There's a
that.
SCORE class next week. So look at SCORE, they have a SCORE class, I think this one costs $100 next week, but they do a good job.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
and see, this is important, that's the importance of being in a room like this. Everybody get to know somebody before you leave, if you don't already know someone in the room. That's why I wanted to ask what everyone did before you see this, so you can maybe see the possibilities of joint venturing, get to mill around, get to know one another. But again, it was my pleasure to be here today. If you don't have any more questions, yes?
I have a business card.
Oh, yes.
Way to contact you.
I do, okay, I do have business cards, I probably don't, I am so horrible about.
Could I have one as well?
Sure.
Well, let's, before we start handing up, let's please give her a hand.
My pleasure. I think I have enough for everybody, but if not,